right, today we're going to be doing the accessibility workshop. So I'm going to share my screen. And it's about making materials accessible for all students. And part of this is based upon the American with Disabilities Act, in that it's been around a while, but our understanding about what it means to make things accessible continues to grow and morph. And so really this workshop is, come about because of three different reasons. One is that we've committed to Quality Matters, and recently Quality Matters in the last year changed their standards, and we submitted a course for Quality Matters review, and it failed. And the reason it failed was because of some of these accessibility things. And so I realized, well, if I don't know these things, then I'm sure a lot of our faculty don't know them as well. Two, that the laws are becoming more and more strict. It's kind of like how pirating was, is that there's now an expectation that universities do this. There's been lawsuits that can cost a university, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And recently, there was some rulings that also talked about when we have materials for students, that it needs to be not just for students with whether or not you have, let me say, I don't know how to say this, is that we've known for a long time, like faculty need to provide transcripts, but it's also important that students, if students post materials, those materials are accessible as well. So a big part of this is understanding why accessibility may be an issue for students, knowing what strategies that we can use to make these materials more accessible, and then just getting in the habit of implementing these strategies as part of the normal course development and delivery process. And so it's just being cognizant and just taking a few minutes to do your little check and take care of it, because I believe at some point we're going to have to kind of prove that our materials are accessible or do some kind of conformance. And so if we do this now, we'll be taken care of. It's not going to be a big deal. It's just part of the way that we do business. So the other part of this, is that we have these reasons to do it, and standing on that is even a lot of these things that we plan to do for making materials accessible benefit not just students with disabilities, but all students. So our guiding questions are, how can students be hampered by materials that are not accessible? What are different tools and strategies I can use to ensure my materials are accessible? And where can I go to learn more? So what's in this handbook? We're going to talk about color blindness, transcripts, images, links, headings and styles, PDF, basic HTML, pasting from Word, and then there's a list of additional resources for you. So the first one we're going to talk about is color blindness. And so a part of this understanding is that not everyone perceives and interacts with the world the same way that you do. And so providing accessible materials requires just having an open mind that people do see things differently and recognizing that. So as a vivid example, we're going to go to this color blindness site. And what it shows is that you've got this nice colorful image. You've got, pinks, reds, yellows, greens, blues, purples back there. And as you check these different options, you can see that this is how someone with this particular color blindness would see this picture. And so you can see it change, and you can see it can change quite dramatically. And so that's just part of it, is knowing that some people just see the world differently. And so the big takeaway from this is that when in order to conform with this, is that you never want to use red to highlight important information. So we tend to do that, but like in a quality matters review, that's automatically flagged as an issue. Blue is the color that is most universally seen by the most people. And then never rely on just color alone to convey a message. So there's lots of ways to, you can use like something bold, italic, white space around something, put it in a box. So there's different ways to convey that this is important information. So the next topic we're going to talk about are transcripts and closed captioning. So one of the most important things about making materials accessible is to provide transcripts or closed captioning for all videos or podcasts. And so a written transcript can always be provided and posted to the course as a PDF file, but written transcripts can be time-consuming to produce. It's still best practice to provide a written transcript whenever possible, but it may not be possible in all cases because of the dynamic nature of how we teach and do things. So one option is to provide notes for a PowerPoint presentation. So a lot of faculty use PowerPoint, and there's a place where you can type your notes. Now there's a way to print these notes pages, which is preferable to just giving students the raw PowerPoint file. And the reason for that is PowerPoint files can be very, very large, and not all students can access them easily from a mobile device. So then the other option you can do on a video is you upload that video to a streaming server with automatic closed captioning. And so we have submitted a grant proposal so that we can have VidGrid integrated into D2L. And what's nice is VidGrid, you just kind of push a button and it takes you to that management system and you can do everything you need to do. And it's right there integrated into D2L. And it works not just for faculty, but it works for students as well. And so I really don't have a video to show you, but I can take you out to this website to kind of give you an idea. So it just kind of integrates into the LMS. So it's just an option that becomes available. It allows you to do like what we do on Zoom, is where you can do a screen capture. You can record your screen, voice, or face. It includes like quizzes, polls, and surveys, and it can integrate in with the gradebook. It also allows students to do their own videos, and you can assign video projects. And the nice thing about it is that there's automatic closed captioning. So that's one of the, so that's why we're considering VidGrid. The other option we have is that Zoom has new features that provide for closed captioning as well. And so that's in like a beta version. And so what happens with Zoom is that you go ahead and record it on Zoom, closed captioning is added, and then the video is transferred to the Washburn streaming server. And so I can provide you with instructions on doing that. Then finally, YouTube. So YouTube is an option. YouTube also provides automatic closed captioning, but I recently discovered that that's not true in all cases. Elizabeth was working on the independent study for the BWell grant, and she did a little introductory video, and so we ported it up to YouTube, and for some reason, the automatic captioning did not kick in. Now, it is possible, even on YouTube, to provide, enter a transcript manually. And we also have directions available on how to upload videos to YouTube. So, and for students on YouTube, if they're watching a YouTube video, they activate the closed captioning simply by clicking on the CC icon down in the lower right-hand corner. So the next topic to talk about are images. So when you add an image to the learning management system or other website, you're prompted to provide the title or alt information. So to be ADA compliant, you need to fill out this information. And it's important that you describe the image and not just name it. And so what happens is that if you have someone who has a screen reader, the screen reader will come through and say image and read off this description. And so if it just has an innocuous name, it's like the students can't see that image. And so an example of that is here, if we come in here in a D2L edit section, and I want to add an image, and I'm just going to go add an image that's already in here. I don't even know what this image is, so we're just going to say, but you want to describe it. This is an unknown image. Oh, it's a lady. Okay, Molly. Okay, so I would have said, here's a young nurse giving the thumbs up. You know, young Caucasian, blonde Caucasian nurse, you know, dressed in purple scrubs, giving a thumbs up sign would be a good way to describe that image. I guess I did update already. Okay, so and again, to insert an image, you use this camera icon, and then you provide the descriptive description. So now one of the things that I learned through this process is that when you have links to websites in documents, you may want to just insert a URL, but to be accessible, it also needs to include a description. And so let's look at an example. One of the things that we've done in the School of Nursing is out on OneDrive in the School of Nursing folder, we have another folder called Master Course Documents, and we have the different programs. And so like we have the BSN program, and I'm just going to go to this course. Oops, bad one, because that one doesn't have the syllabus. Let's try this one. That one doesn't have it either. Okay, I'm trying to think of a course that has the syllabus. I just did the RN to BSN courses, so I don't want to do that one. Let me do graduate. Trying to think of, do we do one up here? Sorry, I should have queued one up. I thought I had one ready to go. I don't want to give you one that's, okay, I know where to go. I know where to go to show you an example. So Master Course Documents, RN to BSN, NU 463, Archive. So this was, you know, like an archive syllabus, and I'm just going to download that. I thought I was going to download. There it goes. Okay. And so we'll go here to downloads. Okay, so here's the syllabus. So what happens is that give it a minute to come up. Enable editing. Okay, so like in this syllabus, down here a little bit further, here's some URLs. And so this is just the URL. And it just says, you can see that it says, you know, http://www.firefox.com. For accessibility, what you want to do is I'm going to right click, edit hyperlink, and put in screen tip, and I'm just going to say Firefox main site. Okay, okay. And so now when I hover it over, you can see that description. So that's one of the things for accessibility, is that you don't just have a link in there that doesn't have the description with it. And so that's just one of the reasons why we've gone to the School of Nursing generic syllabi, is because all of these things are now in the generic syllabi. So you don't have to change it in yours, because your syllabus is just going to include this information above this section. So, but that gives you an idea of what is required for making links accessible. So then the other thing is that one of the ways that screen readers work is that it reads the document. If you use headings or styles, it allows students to navigate through that kind of like a table of contents. And so, for example, back here on the syllabi, if I go to View, Outline, and I just say, show me level 2, you can see, okay, here's all the sections of the syllabus. And so by using those headings, it makes it easier for the student to navigate through long documents. And so headings and styles are used, come on. Headings and styles are used, like this is the heading and style. And so they're up here. And so if you just type something, new heading, highlight it, and select your heading style, oh, it becomes that way. Okay? And so that's how headings are used, is they're up here, and you can just select them, and it automatically says, oh, this is a heading. Well, let's go do that. Okay. So you also have the ability to do headings in D2L. The thing to think about with D2L is D2L already uses like headings 1, 2, and 3. So you want to start with heading 4. So an example of that is back here in our notes. She's kind of big, isn't she? So here we have headings. So see, that's heading 2 and that's heading 3. And so again, it's the same kind of thing, is heading. And you just highlight it, drop this down, and you can select it. Okay? And so what the screen reader works for is that headings are in order. That you have heading 1s, which are, you know, heading 2s are under heading 1s, and heading 3s are under headings 2, so that there's this hierarchy. And so headings are helpful. And this is an example of something to do that benefits everyone. It benefits everyone when you use headings and styles consistently. So the next thing that we want to talk about is like PDF documents. And so PDF documents are one of the most universal ways to share files. And so it's best practice, if you're posting a file to a course, is to post it as a PDF document. And this makes it available, you know, students, no matter what device they're on, they should be able to read it. And we're very lucky because it's very easy to create a PDF document. Most applications now have it built in, is that you can do a save as, change the save as type to PDF, and boom, it's there. And one of the things that you want to think about as you do this is that if you're storing, you know, you upload the PDF document to your course, you want to have a process for storing those source documents that you can get back to easily. And that's one of the reasons we set up that OneDrive master course documents, is so that you have a place to put those things, so that you have the editable version of the file. So this is an example of printing to PDF, and this is something I talked about about the note section. And so let's go through that example. And let's see if I have something up here that's going to queue up quickly, easily. PowerPoint. Okay, I do. Okay. So I have this presentation. And this presentation is one that I did about incorporating usability principles into course design for a conference I went to a couple of years ago. So you can see that I have the notes down here at the bottom. And so if I just gave this to the students, yes, they can go through this, but sometimes it can get me clumsy because sometimes the notes are longer and, it's not as easy to go through. A better way to do this is if you go to File, Print, and we're going to print it instead of the printer, we're going to print it to the PDF file. Instead of full pages, we're going to print the notes pages. And then I could just print it. And it's going to pop up down here and ask me where I want to print it to. I actually put things to my downloads file. And I'm just going to put transcript behind it. And we give it a minute. It does take a while for this thing to print. I think it's got 24 slides, so it's going to take a minute. So we'll just go ahead and let that print, and we'll come look at it in a minute. So the directions are here in your document about how to do this. So the other thing to note about, here it is. So here, now it's nice and neat. I'm going to just view the zoom to the whole, to the fit page. And so now we can just scroll down. And so that's much easier for students to read and go through a presentation than trying to navigate through the PDF file, through the PowerPoint file itself. So the other thing to think about PDF is OCR. So that's the other thing that when you do like a Quality Matters review, that's looked at is all the PDFs with the OCR option. And OCR is just optical character recognition, which means you've maybe been to a PDF file and you try to copy and paste from something and you can't. That's because it's stored as an image. And so you have to convert it so that it's like text readable, and that's called OCR. And so that's required to make PDF documents accessible. Now, luckily, that Save As option normally saves the PDF with the OCR option on. Where you get into problems sometimes is if you scan a document into the printer, it's going to save those pages as images. And so then you'll need to do a conversion process to add the OCR. And there's here's a website. It's very easy to do for doing a free online OCR. So we have that. The next thing to talk about is this one is a little bit more technical, and because we're talking about HTML. And HTML is the language that's used for creating web pages and web applications. And so most faculty don't really have their own web page anymore. And we rely on like the learning management system or content management system. And what you see is in the editor, you have what you see is what you get. Basically, you can type in what you want, and you can use all of these editing options to change what you see here. what the HTML looks like is if you come down to this edit window, you see the double caret. And if you click on that, you can see that, oh, it's the same words, but it's kind of coded. And the thing to understand about HTML is that it works on tags. And so like here we have a beginning tag P, and then the ending tag, a /P, this is a paragraph. And then we have H3, well that's a heading at level 3, and here's the ending of the tag, the end of the heading at H3. Here's an H2, here's another paragraph, here's an H2. OL is ordered list, LI is a list item. And so it's just important to know that these things work in pairs. So some of the things that are commonly used is sometimes if you have a link and you want to be sure it opens in a new window, you can add target equals blank. And here's the image. If you want to make sure, if you want to edit that alt tag for any reason, this is, you know, the alt tag and the title are stored in there. The other important thing is related to tables. Now, tables can be pretty complicated, but the important thing to know is that if you have a header, a heading of a title, you need to use the heading tag instead of the table row tag. And so this one, we're just going to give it to you for reference, because at this point it's kind of like, oh, this is a lot of information. And so we're just including this for you for reference. Now, if you use the Quality Matters course template that we've developed for School of Nursing, the tables that are in there have already been set up with these, with the correct tag. The other thing to think about is when you're pasting things from Word, what happens? And so if I want to copy this information and paste it to Microsoft, paste it into D2L. So I'll come here and I'll paste it, right? And ask me to remove formatting or keep formatting. If I keep the formatting, you can see that it looks like that. But when I toggle over to the HTML view, you can see, oh man, I got a whole bunch of tags and information in there. And what you might find sometimes is that when you actually try to go in and edit it, it's just hard to edit, you know. And so the preferable way is whenever you're pasting is you want to remove the format, and then you can go in and clean it up any way that you want to. Okay. So then what we have is we have some accessibility checkers to help you. You don't have to necessarily know all of these things yourself. So if we go back to the syllabus that we were working on, and how you access these varies, what I found is that like right now I'm on the I'm on Office 365 version of Microsoft Word, and so the accessibility option is under Review, check accessibility. When I use the accessibility option at work with the desktop version of Word, it's under File, and then you'll see it right there. There's an option in the middle that says accessibility, check accessibility. So depending upon what version you are, it could be in a different place. But you can also see, let me move this out of the way, is down here, there might be a little clue to say here, accessibility investigate. So I can check on that, and it's going to give me, oh, here's my report. And so one of the things that happens is images, just like on a website, you need to have the alt tag. Images in a document also need to have an alt tag. And so I can do right mouse, edit alt text, and I can type in Institute for Health Care Improvement logo. There we go. And then here's another one. This is Smart Thinking logo. Okay. Did it not save it? Oh, and then it says this one's not in line. Now this one's a tricky one. I would just ignore that for now. There is a way to fix it, but it's not easy to do. So I would just ignore that error for now. Actually, what they're saying is if you wrap text, you want to make it in line with the text. And so we just want to move it so it's, there you go. So that's what they want you to do, is move it in line with the text instead of floating over here. Okay. And then here's one, suggested alternative text. Okay, so this was just kind of generic. And so this would be introduction to quality and, oh, come on, education for nurses, book cover. Okay. And then it wants another one down here, which is IHI, Open School Online Courses, registration page. Okay. No, I don't want it. So that's it. So now we've passed. There's no other things we need to do to make this document accessible. Now, what I have found is that the accessibility checker varies. So like this is the accessibility checker for Office 365, but when I use the older one, I'll also be asked to add descriptions for these all these links. And also what I'll be asked to do is on tables, remember we talked about the table header, is I'll be asked for every table, I'm highlighting the first row, right mouse, and table properties. I'm going to be asked in the alt text to kind of name the table, and on the first row, repeat it as a header row for the top of each page. So depending upon which accessibility tool you're using, you might get slightly different results. And so if we save this out as a PDF, well, we're going to look and see what the accessibility option for a PDF document looks like. I'll open that up. And again, what I'm finding is that it varies depending upon which version you're using, where you find this option will vary. But accessibility, full check, start checking, and found no problems. In the newer versions of Adobe, you'll find the accessibility checker under tools. So that's that. The other thing about the accessibility is when you do the accessibility, if you run into problems, it gives you like little help here that tells you how to fix the problem. I should have done that. I should have shown you that earlier. Okay. So some of the additional resources that we have, there's a whole list here, but there's one great resource that I found, and let me think where I put it. Right here. When I went to the Leadership Institute for the Online Learning Consortium, the president of this university was one of our mentors. And he shared this with us, and I just thought it was great. And so what you want to look at is it kind of talks to you about the different types of accessibility items. It gives you an overview of, like, this is, the laws behind this. It talks about, headings. You want to consider headings, lists, links, tables, color. Keyboard is, you don't want to have, like, and this becomes a problem when we start using other apps. You have students using an app where you have to use the mouse. Images, the navigation, blinking, no blinking, no blinking. Forms, video, and here's our closed captioning. And so then it goes through and says, okay, for D2L pages, these are the things that you need to think about. For PowerPoint, these are the things that you need to think about. For Word documents, these are the things you need to think about. PDFs. So video, audio. So it just goes through and gives you several different ideas. So what your homework is, or what your task is now, is I sent you like a little checklist. And so I want you to download one of your syllabi and check the accessibility and try to resolve any issues. And then download one of your other uploaded documents and check accessibility. And then also check accessibility for one of your D2L courses. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I can stay here on Zoom while you work, Bobby, and play with this a little bit, and we can toggle back and forth as you may have problems. So.